I signed the papers because I needed money, and because the man across the table looked bored. That was the first thing I remember thinking about him. He was not nervous. He was not excited. He did not try to sell me on it. He sat there with his tablet and his cheap ballpoint pen, tapping one corner of the consent form, waiting for me to finish reading. The place was on the 4th floor of a private research building outside the medical campus. No big sign. No reception area full of sick people. No nurses walking around with carts. Just gray carpet, white walls, cameras in the corners, and people who spoke quietly behind locked doors. The study was called Long-Term Environmental Sleep Isolation. That was the name on the form. It said they were testing how a fixed room, controlled light, controlled meals, and limited communication affected sleep cycles. I would stay inside one room for 30 days. No phone, no books unless approved, no visitors, no internet, no clocks, no windows. They would monitor my sleep, my heart rate, my breathing, my eye movement, and my general behavior. I would be paid $12,000 if I completed the full 30 days. There were rules. No attempts to damage equipment. No attempts to block cameras. No refusal of required health checks. No self-harm. No violence towards staff. No leaving unless I requested removal through the intercom and confirmed that request twice. I asked the man what happened if I quit. He said I would be paid for the days completed, minus a processing fee. I laughed because I thought he was joking. He looked at me until I stopped. His name was Dr. Keller. That was what he told me anyway. He was maybe 50, thin, with glasses that seemed too small for his face. He had a wedding ring but no pictures in his office. The office itself looked temporary. A desk, 2 chairs, a cabinet, nothing personal. I told him I had a wife and 2 kids. He nodded and said emergency contact information was on page 6. My wife, Erin, did not want me to do it. We had argued about it for 3 nights. Not loud because of the kids, but enough that I slept on the couch once. She said it was weird. She said normal studies did not lock people in rooms for a month. She said $12,000 sounded like trouble. She was right about most things. That was part of why being married to her made me feel both safe and small. I had been out of work for almost 5 months. I used to install commercial HVAC systems. Then a fall from a ladder tore something in my shoulder, and after surgery I could not lift the way I used to. Workers' comp got delayed. The company stopped calling. Bills stacked up. The kids needed dental work. The car needed tires. Rent went up. Every day I woke up with a list in my head and no way to cross anything off. Erin worked at a pharmacy and picked up extra shifts when she could. She never said she resented me, but I could see it in the way she counted groceries before putting them in the cart. I could hear it when she told our daughter no, not this month. Maybe for your birthday. Our daughter Maddie was 8. Our son Caleb was 5. Maddie was sharp and serious like Erin. Caleb was soft and funny, and still wanted to sit on my lap even though he was getting too big. The night before I went in, Caleb asked if the doctors were going to fix my bad arm. I told him no. They were just going to watch me sleep. He asked why anyone would pay money to watch me sleep. I said that was a good question. Erin stood in the kitchen doorway with her arms folded and said nothing. When I left the next morning, she drove me because I would not be allowed to keep my car there. The kids were at school. The car smelled like old coffee and the vanilla hand lotion she used. We barely spoke during the drive. Outside the building, she put the car in park but left the engine running. "You can still not do this," she said. "I know. $12,000 is not worth something happening to you. Nothing is going to happen. You don't know that." I wanted to snap at her. I wanted to say she had no better idea. I wanted to remind her that I had called every contractor I knew and filled out every online application and sold my tools one by one. But she looked tired and I loved her, so I reached over and took her hand. "I'll be bored," I said. "That's all. I'll sleep. They'll run tests. I'll come home with money." She looked at the building. "Promise me you'll leave if it feels wrong." "I promise." She kissed me, quick and hard, like she was angry at my mouth. Then I got out. That was the last normal thing that happened to me. Inside, they took my bag. They searched it in front of me and removed my phone, wallet, keys, belt, and a paperback I had brought without asking. They gave me soft pants, plain shirts, socks with rubber grips, and a pair of slippers. They shaved small patches on my chest and scalp for sensors, and attached a lightweight monitor around my wrist. A nurse named Paula checked my blood pressure. She had kind eyes and a tired voice. I asked if she had worked the study before. She said, "Variations of it." I asked if anyone had finished the full 30 days. She tightened the cuff and said, "Some people do well in quiet." That did not answer my question. After the exam, Dr. Keller came back with another staff member, a woman named Singh. They walked me down a short hall to a door with no handle on my side. It opened with a badge from the outside. The room was larger than I expected, about the size of a small hotel room. White walls, gray rubber floor, bed bolted to the wall, desk, chair, toilet and shower behind a half partition. No mirror, a vent in the ceiling, a camera in each corner inside dark plastic covers. The lights were built into the ceiling and could dim or brighten without any switches. There was an intercom speaker above the bed and a small metal panel beside the door with one red button. Dr. Keller explained the button. Press once to request communication. Press and hold to request removal. If I requested removal, someone would ask me to confirm. If I confirmed twice, I would be escorted out and withdrawn from the study. I asked why the door had no handle. He said it was to maintain environmental control. That sounded like one of those phrases people use when the truth is ugly but legal. Meals would arrive through a pass-through drawer in the wall. The drawer locked from the other side. I would receive 3 meals a day, though I would not be told the time. The lights would follow a schedule made to feel like normal days, but without exact times. Once a day, a voice over the intercom would ask questions and give simple instructions. "Whose voice?" I asked. "Usually a technician," Dr. Keller said. "Usually?" He did not smile. "Sometimes an automated system." I looked around the room. The bed had a blue blanket. The desk had a stack of blank paper and a soft pencil. There was nothing sharp. The toilet seat was molded plastic. The shower head was fixed into the wall. Singh asked if I understood the conditions. I said yes. Dr. Keller asked if I still consented. I thought about Aaron in the car. I thought about Maddie's crooked front tooth and Caleb's shoes with holes near the toes. "Yes," I said. They stepped out. The door shut. A lock clicked inside the wall. For the first few days, it was almost easy. I slept more than I thought I would. I had been tired for months, the kind of tired that sits under your skin and makes everything feel personal. In the room, there was nothing to do. No bills, no emails, no phone calls I did not want to answer, no children asking for snacks while I tried to fill out forms, no Erin looking at me with that careful face she used when she was trying not to make things worse. The food was plain but fine. Oatmeal, eggs, rice, chicken, vegetables, soup, sandwiches cut in half. The coffee was terrible, but I drank it anyway. I did push-ups until my shoulder hurt, then stopped. I wrote notes on the paper even though I had nothing interesting to say. Day 1, I wrote, room clean, lights too bright, feel stupid. Day 2, slept a lot, dreamed about garage at old house, food okay. Day 3, starting to hate the sound of the vent. The intercom voice was male, calm, and slightly flat. It asked me to rate my sleep, my mood, my appetite, any physical pain, any hallucinations, any anxiety. It told me to stand in the center of the room for balance tests. It told me to read words from cards that slid through the meal drawer. It told me to sit on the bed while the lights changed brightness. I answered. I did what it said. I assumed someone watched and wrote things down. On day 4, I asked the voice if I could speak to Erin. No outside communication is permitted during active participation, it said. Can you tell me if she's okay? No outside communication is permitted during active participation. Can you tell her I'm okay? The speaker clicked. Your emergency contact will be notified only in the event of medical removal. I called it a few names. Nothing happened. By day 5, my thoughts had started to slow down. Not in a peaceful way. More like mud. I would sit at the desk with the pencil in my hand and forget what I meant to write. I would stand in the shower after the water shut off and realize I had been waiting for it to warm up, even though I had already washed. Without clocks, time did not pass cleanly. It pooled. Meals came and lights changed, but I stopped trusting them. Sometimes I thought breakfast came too soon. Sometimes I was sure a whole day had passed between dinner and the next light cycle. Sleep became broken. I had dreams so ordinary they confused me. I dreamed I was home taking out trash. I dreamed I was driving to the hardware store. Then I woke in the white room and felt punished for waking. On day 6, I found the first mark. It was low on the wall beside the bed, near where the blanket hung down. 4 short scratches in the paint. I had not noticed them before. They looked like fingernail marks. I pressed the intercom button. After a short delay, the voice said, "State your request. There are scratches on the wall. Please describe the marks." 4 scratches, by the bed. Are you injured? No. Did you make the marks? No. Please return to normal activity. That's it? Please return to normal activity. I stared at the scratches for a long time. They were not deep. They could have been there from another participant, or from equipment, or from someone moving the bed. But once I saw them, I could not stop seeing them. They made the room feel used. I started checking the walls every day. I found scuffs near the desk legs, a small dent above the toilet, a faint brown stain in the corner by the shower drain. Normal things. Normal damage. Still, it bothered me that the room had a history I was not allowed to know. On day 7, the intercom asked a new question. Do you feel alone? I was sitting on the bed eating a banana. I looked up at the speaker. What? Do you feel alone? Yes, I said. Obviously. Describe the feeling. It feels like being alone. Use different words. I laughed, but the sound came out harsh. It feels like you people locked me in a room and now you're asking stupid questions. Please describe the feeling. I threw the banana peel at the wall under the speaker. It hit and slid down. Empty, I said. Bored, irritated, tired. Do you feel watched? I looked at the cameras. Yes. Does being watched comfort you? No. Does being watched frighten you? Not yet. There was a pause after that, longer than usual. Then the voice said, Thank you. On day 8, I woke up on the floor. I did not remember getting there. I was lying on my side near the desk, one cheek stuck to the rubber floor. My shoulder burned. The lights were dim. The room smelled sour. For a moment, I thought I was home after drinking too much. Then I saw the bed bolted to the wall and the camera above it. I sat up too fast and felt dizzy. There was a paper on the desk. I must have written on it before I fell asleep, but I did not remember doing it. It said, Stop answering. The words were mine. Same slant, same hard pressure from the pencil. I stared at them until they stopped looking like words. I pressed the button. State your request. I blacked out. Please describe what happened. I woke up on the floor. I don't remember getting there. Are you injured? My shoulder hurts. Rate the pain from 1 to 10. 4. Do you require removal from the study? I looked at the paper again. Stop answering. No, I said. Please return to normal activity. What did I do before I passed out? Please return to normal activity. Can someone check the camera? Please return to normal activity. I almost held the button down. I thought about Aaron's face in the car. I thought about explaining that I quit after 8 days because I got scared of my own handwriting. I folded the paper and slid it under the mattress. That was when things started to go wrong in a way I could not explain away. The meals changed first. Breakfast came with 2 forks. Then dinner came with no utensils. Then a tray came through with an extra cup of coffee, cold, half full, with a bite mark on the rim. I pressed the button and told the voice, Are you refusing the meal? It asked. No, I'm telling you someone drank this. Are you refusing the meal? Who drank it? Please answer yes or no. No. Thank you. I did not touch the coffee. Next came the smell. It started near the vent. Not strong. Damp cloth. Old breath. Something left in a sink. I told myself it was the drain. I cleaned the shower with the soap they gave me. I wiped the toilet. I washed my clothes in the sink and hung them over the chair. The smell stayed. Then the lights flickered during one of the false mornings. They did not go out. They just dipped low and came back up. When they did, the chair had moved. I know how that sounds. I know people move things and forget. I had been sleeping badly. I had already lost time once, but the chair had been tucked under the desk. After the flicker, it sat in the center of the room, facing the bed. I backed away from it like it was a dog showing teeth. I pressed the button. The voice took longer than usual. "State your request." The chair moved. "Please describe." "It was under the desk. Now it's in the middle of the room." "Did you move the chair?" "No." "Are you certain?" "Yes." Memory disruption is common in isolation studies. "You moved it." "No staff member has entered the room." "Then how did it move?" Memory disruption is common in isolation studies. I shoved the chair back under the desk and stayed awake as long as I could. I sat on the bed with my back against the wall and watched the room. My eyes burned. The vent hummed. The cameras did not move, but I imagined people behind them leaning closer. Eventually I slept. When I woke, the chair was beside the bed. I held the red button down until the speaker clicked. "You have requested removal," the voice said. "Please confirm." I opened my mouth. No sound came out. I wanted to say yes. I had promised Aaron. I had promised myself. A normal person would leave. A normal person would understand that whatever amount of money had brought him there was not worth what was happening to his mind. But I thought about the fee, the reduced payment, the bills. I thought about Aaron trying not to cry in the bathroom where the kids could not see. I thought about the way men look at you when you cannot provide, and they are too polite to say that is what they are seeing. The voice waited. "Cancel request," I said. "Please confirm cancellation." "Cancel. Removal request canceled." I sat there with my hand on the wall until the lights changed. On day 10, I stopped speaking unless I had to. The voice asked questions. I gave numbers. Sleep quality, 2. Mood, 3. Appetite, 4. Anxiety, 7. Hallucinations, no. That last one became difficult. I had started seeing motion at the edge of my sight. Not people. Just the feeling of someone stepping out of view. I would turn fast and find the shower partition, the desk, the bed, the blank wall. I knew it was my brain. I understood that. Isolation makes the mind fill space. I told myself that over and over. Then I heard coughing. It came from inside the room. I was eating soup at the desk. The sound was low and wet, close enough that I dropped the spoon. I spun around. The bed was empty. The shower was empty. No one stood behind me. A second cough came from above. I looked at the vent. "Hello?" I said. Nothing. I stood on the chair and put my ear close to the vent. The smell was stronger there, warm and spoiled. Is someone up there? The intercom clicked before I touched the button. "Please step down from the chair." I froze. "Please step down from the chair." Who coughed? "Please step down from the chair." "There's someone in the vent." No person is in the ventilation system. The voice was calm. Too calm. It made me angry enough to forget I was scared. Then what made the sound? "Please step down from the chair." I hit the vent cover with the heel of my hand. It rattled but did not come loose. The lights went out. Not dim, out. I dropped from the chair and landed badly on my hip. In the dark, the room became huge. I heard my own breathing, fast and ugly. The vent hummed above me. Then something else moved. A small shift, fabric against the floor. I crawled backward until my shoulders hit the bed frame. "Turn them on," I said. The intercom did not answer. The movement came again. Not near the vent, near the desk. I grabbed for anything I could use and found only the blanket. My hand closed on it like it could save me. The lights came back slowly. The room was empty. The soup bowl lay on the floor. The chair was tipped over. On the desk, someone had written one word on a clean page. First. I do not remember the rest of that day clearly. I remember pressing the button and screaming. I remember Dr. Keller's voice, not the usual intercom voice, asking me to breathe and sit on the bed. I remember telling him the study was over and he needed to open the door. He asked me to confirm withdrawal. I said yes. Then he asked again, as required. I said yes again. The door did not open. Instead, he said, "You are experiencing an acute stress response. We recommend remaining in the study under observation." "No," I said. I confirmed. The protocol allows medical review before removal. "You said if I confirm twice, I leave." "Please sit on the bed." "Open the door." "Please sit on the bed." I kicked the door until my foot went numb. I slammed the chair into it. The chair bounced back and hit my knee. I tore at the seam around the pass-through drawer until my nails split. No alarm sounded. No one came in. After a while, the lights dimmed. A meal arrived. I did not eat it. On the paper with the word "I" below the first mark, another word had appeared while I was at the door. See? I kept that page too. I do not know why. Evidence, maybe. Proof for when I got out. Proof for myself. Day 11 was quiet. That was worse. No voice. No questions. No meals for what felt like too long. The lights stayed low. The room smelled like old meat now, but not strong enough to locate. I lay on the bed and watched the door. I had a headache that seemed to pulse with the vent. When food finally came, it was not on a tray. It was in a clear plastic bag. Bread, cheese, an apple, a sealed bottle of water, like a lunch packed for someone leaving. I laughed when I saw it. I laughed so hard I choked. Then the speaker clicked. The usual voice returned. "Please eat." "No, please eat. I want Keller. Dr. Keller is unavailable." I withdrew. "You have to let me out." "You did not withdraw. I confirmed twice. You canceled the request." "That was before. You canceled the request." I sat up. "Get him. Please eat." I picked up the apple and threw it at the speaker. It bounced off the wall and rolled under the bed. The voice said, "That was unnecessary." It was a small thing, just a sentence, but it did not sound like the script. It sounded annoyed. I stood very still. "What did you say?" "That was unnecessary." "Who is this?" No answer. "Tell me your name." "Please eat." "Tell me your name." "Please eat." I backed away from the speaker. My skin felt too tight. That was the first time I thought the voice sounded familiar. Not exactly. The speaker flattened it. The room changed it. But something in the vowels, the tired way it clipped the last word. I had heard that voice when leaving messages for contractors. I had heard it in videos Aaron took of me playing with the kids. I had heard it in arguments when I said things I regretted. I told myself no. I told myself sleep loss makes patterns where there are none. The voice said, "You are making this harder." My knees went weak. I had said those exact words to Caleb once when he cried because he did not want to put on his shoes. I hated myself for saying it. Aaron had looked at me from the hallway, and I had known I sounded like my father. "What is this?" I asked. The speaker clicked off. On day 12, there was no doubt. The lights came up slowly. I had slept in short bursts and woke with my mouth dry. Breakfast came through the drawer. Eggs, toast, coffee. I did not move. I waited for the intercom because I knew it would come. When it did, my own voice filled the room. "Good morning, Daniel. My name is Daniel Price. Hearing your own voice from outside your body is not like hearing a recording. People always say they hate recordings of themselves, but this was not that. A recording is embarrassing. This was wrong in a deeper way. It was my voice, but steadier, less tired, like someone had cleaned it, ironed it flat, and fed it back through the wall. I covered my ears. "Please remove your hands from your ears," it said. I did not. "Please remove your hands from your ears." "Stop. Please remove your hands from your ears." I shouted until I could not hear it. I shouted Aaron's name. I shouted for Keller, for Paula, for anyone. No one came. When I finally lowered my hands, the room rang with silence. Then my voice said, "You always make people ask twice." I slid down the wall. "No." "You promised her you would leave." "No." "You promised." I pressed my palms into my eyes until I saw colors. My voice said, "She knew you would not." I do not know how long I sat like that. Time had become useless. I remember the food going cold. I remember the smell from the vent. I remember thinking that the room was not a room anymore. It was a mouth, and I was something stuck in its teeth. After that, the study changed. The voice still gave instructions, but they were no longer medical questions. Sometimes it told me to stand facing the corner. Sometimes it told me to lie under the bed. Sometimes it told me to repeat sentences. "I am safe here. I am grateful. I know what I did." I refused at first. The lights would go out. The room would get cold. The meal drawer would stay locked. Once the shower came on by itself while I was sleeping and soaked the bed. I spent what might have been a full day wrapped in wet clothes, shaking hard enough that my teeth hurt. After that, I repeated what it told me. I hated myself for it. I also understood how fast pride disappears when comfort is taken away. Hunger makes a person simple. Cold makes him obedient. Fear makes him stupid. On day 13, I asked my voice what it wanted. It said, "To finish." Finish what? The study. What study? No answer. On day 14, it played sounds from my house. At first, I thought I was dreaming. The lights were dim, and I was lying on the bed with the blanket over my face. I heard cabinet doors, a spoon against a bowl, Aaron telling Caleb not to feed cereal to the dog. We did not have a dog. Maddie complaining that her socks felt weird. Caleb laughing. I pulled the blanket down. The sounds came from the speaker, tinny but clear. I stood under it. Where did you get that? Aaron's voice said, Daniel, can you take the trash out before you go? It was from months before. I remembered the morning. I had been late for a physical therapy appointment. I had snapped at her. I had taken the trash out but slammed the back door hard enough to make Caleb cry. The speaker played my voice from that morning. I said I'd do it. Then Aaron, quieter. Don't talk to me like that in front of them. Then me. Then don't treat me like one of them. I pressed the button so hard my thumb slipped. Turn it off. The recording continued. Maddie said, Mom? Then nothing but kitchen noise. Turn it off. The intercom clicked. My clean voice said, Do you miss them? Yes. Do you deserve them? I could not answer. Do you deserve them? Stop. Do you deserve them? No, I said, because I wanted the sound to stop. The speaker clicked off. After that, I heard them every day. Not always clear. Sometimes just laughter behind the wall. Sometimes Aaron saying my name from the shower drain. Sometimes Caleb coughing in the vent. Once I woke to Maddie standing beside the bed. I know she was not really there. I know that. She wore the yellow shirt she liked, the one with paint stains near the hem. Her hair was tangled. She looked at me with a tired expression no child should have. Dad, she said. I reached for her and hit the wall. My hand swelled across the knuckles. Blood spotted the paint. The cameras watched. On day 15, Dr. Keller came back on the intercom. His real voice, not mine. Daniel, can you hear me? I was sitting in the shower with my clothes on. The water was off. I had gone there because it was the only place where two walls touched close enough to make me feel less exposed. Keller? Yes. Open the door. I need you to listen carefully. No. Open the door. We have had an equipment issue. I laughed. It hurt my throat. An equipment issue. We need you to remain calm. Where are you? I'm nearby. Come in. That is not possible at this moment. Why? A pause. Daniel, have you heard any voices other than the intercom? I stood up. You know I have. Have you seen anyone inside the room? You know I have. Please answer. I walked to the speaker. You're recording this like it's data. You're still doing the study. No. Then open the door. We can't. That was the first honest thing anyone had said since I entered the room. My anger drained out so quickly I felt hollow. What do you mean you can't? The door system is locked down. Unlock it. We are working on that. How long? We are working on that. I looked at the door. Plain gray. No handle. A line around the frame so tight I could not fit a fingernail into it. What did you do? I asked. No answer. What is this place? Daniel, I need to ask you something important. Has the intercom voice instructed you to harm yourself? No. Has it instructed you to harm anyone else? No. Another pause. I could hear someone talking far away from his microphone. Keller covered it, but not well enough. A woman said, "He's not synced." Keller said, "Quiet." I pressed my face close to the speaker. What does that mean? The line went dead. The lights dimmed. My own voice returned. "He lies for work." I backed away. "He lies better than you." "Stop talking. You lie for free." I grabbed the chair and smashed it against the wall under the speaker. The chair legs bent. One cracked but did not break off cleanly. I kept hitting until my hands blistered. The speaker grill dented but kept working. My voice said, "That was unnecessary." On day 16, I began to understand there were patterns in the walls. Not visual patterns. The walls were still mostly blank, but sound traveled through them in ways that made no sense. If I pressed my ear to the wall beside the bed, I heard the vent. If I pressed it near the desk, I heard a faint electric hum. Near the shower, I heard water even when the shower was off. Near the door, I heard breathing. I found it by accident. I was sitting with my back against the door after another failed removal request. My head rested against the metal. At first, I thought the breathing was mine echoing back, but the rhythm was different. Slower. Labored. I held my breath. The breathing continued. "Hello?" I whispered. It stopped. I stayed there until my legs cramped. Then, from the other side of the door, someone whispered, "Don't open it." It was my voice, not the clean intercom version. This was raw, close, sick with fear. I scrambled away from the door. The intercom clicked. "Please do not sit by the door." I did not answer. "Please do not sit by the door." "Who's outside?" "No one is outside." He told me not to open it. "No one is outside." The whisper came again, so low I almost missed it. "Please." I spent the rest of that day on the bed, knees to my chest, watching the bottom of the door. On day 17, I got sick. Maybe it was the food. Maybe it was stress. Maybe I had been drinking too little water. I vomited after breakfast and then again after lunch. My stomach cramped until I curled on the floor. Sweat soaked my shirt. The smell from the vent turned thick and sweet, and every breath made me gag. I pressed the button. My voice answered. "State your request." "I need a doctor." "Please describe your symptoms." "I'm vomiting. I have cramps. I'm dizzy." "Rate your pain." 6. "Do you require removal?" "Yes." "Please confirm." "Yes." "Please confirm again." "Yes." "Request denied." I stared at the speaker. "That's not the rule." "Request denied." "You can't do that." "Request denied." I crawled to the toilet and vomited bile. When I lifted my head, there was writing on the underside of the desk. I had to lie on my back to read it. It was scratched into the wood in tiny letters. Day 17. He sounds like me now. My body went cold despite the fever. I pulled myself up and searched the rest of the desk. More writing covered the underside, hidden unless you were low to the floor. Do not trust Keller. Do not trust the light. There is another room. The last line was carved so deep the wood had splintered. There is another room. I had not written it. I knew that. I had never been under the desk before. The scratches were old, dark with grime. Someone else had been there. Someone else had made it to day 17. Or I had. And I did not remember. That was the thought that broke something in me. I tore the mattress off the bed. I checked the frame, the floor, the walls. I dragged the desk from one side of the room to the other and ignored the intercom ordering me to stop. I found old marks under the bed, short lines grouped in fives, dozens of them, maybe days, maybe something else. Behind the toilet, hidden low near the pipe, someone had scratched a name. Daniel Price. I sat on the floor with my hand over my mouth. I wanted to believe it was part of the experiment. They had my name. They could have planted it. They could have made the room look used by me. It was cruel. But people were cruel for money and knowledge and sometimes for no reason at all. But the handwriting was mine. Messier than usual. Desperate. But mine. The intercom clicked. My voice said, "You are ahead of schedule." I started laughing. I could not stop. I laughed until I vomited again. On day 18, the door opened. Not the main door. The meal drawer. It slid out after the lights came up, but there was no tray inside. Instead, the back of the drawer was missing. Beyond it was a narrow, dark space, just large enough for an arm. I stood across the room and stared. The intercom said nothing. After a while, I approached. The drawer had always seemed shallow. Now it extended into blackness. A smell came from it, the same spoiled smell from the vent, stronger and damp. I got on my knees and looked inside. A tunnel ran behind the wall. Not a real tunnel you could crawl through. More like a service gap between rooms. Pipes, wiring, insulation wrapped in silver. At the far end, maybe 10 feet away, there was another rectangle of light. Another meal drawer. I whispered, "No." From the other side, something moved. A hand slid into view. It was pale and thin, fingers curled. The nails were broken. A hospital wrist monitor hung loose around the wrist. Mine was on my left wrist. The hand in the gap had the same monitor on its left wrist. I fell backward and kicked myself away from the drawer. The hand stayed there, twitching weakly. Then it pulled back into the light and disappeared. The intercom clicked. "Please retrieve your meal." I screamed. I screamed until my voice cracked. I threw the desk chair at the drawer. It hit the wall and fell apart. One leg finally snapped loose, leaving a jagged end. I picked it up and held it like a weapon. "Open the main door." "Please retrieve your meal." "There's someone back there." "Please retrieve your meal." "He has my wristband." "Please retrieve your meal." The drawer slid shut by itself. For a long time I stood with the chair leg raised, waiting for it to open again. It did not. On day 19, nothing happened at all. No food, no voice, no lights changing. The room stayed in a dull half-light that made everything look dirty. I drank from the sink. I kept the chair leg with me. My stomach cramped from hunger, but I was too afraid to go near the meal drawer. I read the scratched messages under the desk again and again, until I had memorized them. There is another room. I searched for seams. I ran my fingers along every wall. I checked behind the bed frame, around the shower partition, under the toilet, around the vent. Nothing. The room was solid. The main door had no handle. The pass-through drawer was closed tight. Near what I thought was late in the day, I heard Aaron. Not through the speaker, through the wall behind the bed. Dan? I closed my eyes. Dan, please. I put my hands over my ears. You have to come home. I said, you're not real. I can't do this without you. You're not real. Caleb cried somewhere behind her. Maddie said, Dad. I hit the wall with the chair leg, once, twice, over and over. The sound of their voices continued, muffled and sad. I hit until the paint cracked and the wall dented. The chair leg splintered in my hands. Under the paint was not concrete. It was a panel. I stopped. I ran my fingers over the dent. The wall flexed slightly. The voices stopped. I struck the same spot again. The panel cracked. I kept going, ignoring the pain in my shoulder, until a piece broke inward and fell into darkness. Cold air touched my face. Behind the wall was a narrow space, not the service gap from the meal drawer. This was wider, enough for a person to squeeze through sideways. There were cables along the floor and another wall a few feet beyond. On that wall was a door, a real door. Small, metal, painted the same gray as everything else. It had no handle on my side, but the panel around it was loose where the frame met the wall. I used the broken chair leg and my fingers. I tore nails. I cut my palm. I worked until the frame shifted. The door opened inward with a wet scrape. A smell rolled out so strong I gagged and dropped to one knee. Rot. Human waste. Stale sweat. Something dead long enough to become part of the air. The intercom came on behind me, louder than before. Do not enter. I wiped my mouth. Do not enter. I crawled through. The room on the other side was identical. Same bed bolted to the wall, same desk, same chair, same toilet and shower behind the same half partition, same cameras in the corners, same speaker above the bed, same red button beside the main door. But this room had gone bad. The lights flickered weakly. The floor was stained. Food trays were stacked near the meal drawer, many untouched, some crawling with insects. The toilet had overflowed and dried in layers. The walls were covered with writing. Most of it was mine. I know how that sounds, but there is no other way to say it. The room was full of my handwriting. Some lines were careful. Some were huge and wild. Some were scratched with pencil. Some with blood or filth or whatever had been available. He is in the next room. He thinks he is first. Do not answer when he calls. Keller knows. The voice is not a recording. The door opens when the other one stops breathing. I walked in with one hand over my nose and the chair leg in the other. Something lay in the bed. At first, my mind would not accept it as a body. It was a shape under a gray blanket, too thin, too still. The head rested turned toward the wall, hair dark with grease. One arm hung over the side of the bed. The wrist monitor was there. The same model, same side. I stepped closer. The face had collapsed in places. The skin was dark and loose. The mouth hung open. The eyes were filmed and sunken. It had my beard, longer and patchy. It had the scar under my chin from when I fell off my bike at 12. It had the small dark mole near my right ear. It was me, a decomposing version of me. I made a sound I had never heard from myself before. Not a scream, not crying. Something between choking and begging. I backed into the desk, knocking papers to the floor. On one of them was a drawing of the two rooms side by side. Arrows, notes, a loop. Room A observes. Room B. Room B observes Room A. Subject transfers when identity rejection reaches threshold. Do not let him see the body before day 20. I could not understand all of it. My eyes moved over the words, but my mind kept returning to the bed. The dead thing's hand twitched. I dropped the chair leg. The fingers curled, slow and dry. The head shifted against the pillow. A bubble formed at the corner of the mouth and broke. I ran. Behind me, my own dead voice rasped. Please don't leave me. I squeezed through the small door in the broken wall into my room. I kicked the panel back into place as well as I could and shoved the bed against it. Then I curled in the corner farthest from the hidden door and stayed there until the lights went dark. On day 20, the study ended. I know that because Dr. Keller came into the room. The main door opened without warning. Real hallway light spilled in. Not the room's soft fake light. Real light, hard and yellow. I flinched away from it and raised the broken chair leg. Keller stood in the doorway wearing a white coat and a surgical mask. Behind him were 2 security guards and Paula, the nurse. They all looked at me like I was a dog they were not sure had been vaccinated. "Daniel," Keller said, "put that down." I did not move. He took 1 step in. The guards stayed behind him. "The active phase is over," he said. I laughed once. It came out as a cough. "You need medical care." I pointed at the wall behind the bed. "There's a body." Keller's eyes moved to the bed, then back to me. "There is no body." "In the other room." "There is no other room." I screamed then. I shoved the bed aside, tearing open the panel I had broken. The gap was there. The small door was there. I pointed so hard my whole arm shook. Keller looked at the opening for a long time. His face changed. "Not much, but enough." Paula whispered, "Jesus." One of the guards said, "What the hell is that?" Keller turned to them. "Wait outside." "No," I said. "Everyone sees it. Everyone sees." I crawled through before they could stop me. The smell hit again, but weaker now, like the room was farther away than before. I pushed the small door open. The second room was clean. No trays, no stains, no writing, no body. Same bed, same desk, same chair, same blank walls. The room looked unused. I stood in the center of it while Keller and the others crowded behind me. It was here, I said. No one answered. It was here. Paula looked at me with pity. That was worse than fear. Keller said, "Daniel, come back with us." I searched the bed. I tore off the blanket. I got on the floor and looked under the desk. No scratches, no words, no filth. I ran to the wall where Daniel Price had been carved behind the toilet in my room, then remembered this was the other room. I checked anyway. Nothing. The guards came in and took my arms. I fought them. Not well. I was weak, half-starved, shaking. One guard pinned me to the floor while the other pulled the chair leg from my hand. My cheek pressed against the rubber floor. It smelled like cleaning solution. I shouted for Aaron. I shouted that I was not crazy. I shouted that Keller had killed me in that bed. Keller knelt near my face. Quietly, so the others could not hear, he said, "Which one are you?" I stopped fighting. He stood and told them to sedate me. I woke in a medical room with a window. For a while I could not look at it. The blinds were open, and beyond the glass was a parking lot, a strip of grass, trees moving in wind. The sight of distance made me nauseous. I had forgotten how far away things could be. My wrists were strapped to the bed. Paula sat beside me reading from a chart. When she saw my eyes open, she pressed a call button. "Where is Keller?" I asked. Her expression closed. "You're safe." "Where is he?" "You're in recovery." "How long was I in there?" She hesitated. 20 days, she said. "Not 30? "No." The study was 30 days. It was terminated early. "Why?" She looked toward the door. I said, "Because you found the other room." Paula did not answer. A different doctor came in. Young, nervous, not Keller. He asked me questions. My name, date of birth, wife's name, children's names, the current year, the president. Simple things. I answered most of them. I got the date wrong because I had no way to know it. He asked if I knew where I was. I said, "Not really." He wrote that down. They kept me 2 more days, maybe 3. I slept through a lot of it. They gave me fluids, food, pills that made my thoughts soft. A police officer came once and asked if I wanted to make a statement. Keller stood in the hall during that conversation. I could see him through the open door. I told the officer I had been trapped. He asked by whom. I said Keller. The officer asked if Dr. Keller had physically prevented me from leaving. I laughed until Paula asked him to leave. Later, when I was more awake, I asked to call Aaron. Paula looked uncomfortable. "I think Dr. Keller needs to speak with you first." "No, I want my wife." She left. Keller came in alone. He looked older than he had before. His tie was loosened. His hands were bare, no gloves, and there was a red mark around one finger where his wedding ring had been. "You're going home today," he said. I sat up carefully. My body felt like it belonged to someone recovering from a long illness. "I want to call Aaron." He placed a folder on the foot of the bed. "We contacted your emergency number when the study ended." "And?" There was confusion. "What does that mean?" He opened the folder and took out a printed photograph. He handed it to me. It was my driver's license photo. At least it should have been. The man in the picture had my name, my birth date, My address. He looked mostly like me, but not enough. His face was a little wider. His eyes sat differently. His hairline was higher. If you saw him across a room, you might think he was my brother. Not me. I stared at it. Keller said, "What do you see?" "Where did you get this?" "It's from state records." "No." "Daniel." "No." "We ran your fingerprints." I looked up. "They match the records associated with Daniel Price," he said. "But there are discrepancies." "What discrepancies?" He did not answer right away. "What discrepancies?" I asked again. "Your wife said the man in this photograph is her husband." I felt something open under my ribs. "No." "She said she does not know you." "No." "She was frightened by the call." "You called the wrong number." "We verified the number." "You showed her the wrong picture." "We did not show her a picture. She came here." I grabbed the bed rail. "Erin was here?" "Yes." "Bring her in." She left. "Bring her back." She requested no further contact. I tried to get out of bed, but my legs failed. Keller caught my arm. I shoved him away. "You did this." He stepped back. "You switched something. You changed records. You messed with my head, and now you're trying to cover it." Keller looked at me for a long moment. Then he said, "I don't know what we did." That scared me more than any lie. They discharged me with a paper bag of clothes, a temporary phone, and an envelope of cash. Not $12,000. $3,000. Keller said the rest would be processed after review. He said I should stay in a hotel arranged by the facility until follow-up appointments could be completed. I asked if I was under arrest. He said no. I asked if I was free to go. He said yes. So I left. No one stopped me. Outside, the air smelled like rain and car exhaust. The world was too loud. Tires on wet pavement. Birds. A truck backing up somewhere. People talking on phones. I stood on the sidewalk in clothes that hung loose on me and watched the building doors close behind my reflection. My reflection looked wrong. Not like the license photo. Not like the body in the bed either. Like me, but stretched by fear. Cheeks hollow. Beard uneven. Eyes too open. I touched my face and expected my fingers to pass through. I did not go to the hotel. I walked until I found a bus stop. I rode without knowing the route. I got off near a shopping center because I recognized a grocery store Erin used sometimes. From there, I walked home. It took hours. My legs cramped. Twice I had to sit on the curb and breathe through dizziness. Nobody looked at me for long. That became its own kind of pain. After everything that happened, the world did not know it was supposed to react. Our apartment was on the second floor of a brick building near a laundromat. The stairs had a metal railing that wobbled. Someone had left a broken plastic dinosaur on the landing. Caleb's, maybe. He used to carry toys in his coat pockets and lose them everywhere. I stood outside our door and listened. A television murmured inside. A child laughed. My child. Caleb. I almost collapsed. I knocked. The sound was too normal. Footsteps approached. The peephole darkened. Erin said, "Who is it?" I could not speak at first. "Aaron," I said. Silence. "It's me." The chain slid into place before she opened the door a few inches. Her face appeared in the gap. I had imagined this moment so many times in the room. I thought she would cry. I thought I would cry. I thought she would open the door and put her hands on my face and say my name like she had been holding it in her mouth for 20 days. She looked at me the way people look at a man asking for money outside a gas station. "Can I help you?" she said. I smiled because my mind refused to understand. "It's me." Her eyes moved over my face. No recognition. Caution, yes. A little fear. "Do I know you?" The hallway tilted. "Aaron, how do you know my name?" From inside, Maddie said, "Mom?" Aaron turned her head. "Stay in the living room." Maddie came anyway. She always did when adults used that tone. She appeared behind Aaron, taller than I remembered, wearing a purple hoodie. She looked at me through the gap. My daughter looked at me and saw nothing. "Hi, Maddie," I said. Aaron's face hardened. "You need to leave." "Baby, it's Dad." Maddie stepped back. Aaron shut the door as far as the chain allowed. "Leave now, or I'm calling the police." I put my hand against the door. "Please, please, just look at me. I don't know who you are." Caleb shouted from the living room, "Who is it?" My throat closed. Aaron said, "No one. No one." The door shut. The lock turned. I stood there with my hand on the wood. Inside, Aaron spoke in a low voice. Maddie asked something. Caleb laughed because the television did something funny. Life continued on the other side of the door. I knocked again. Then harder. Aaron shouted that she was calling the police. I went down the stairs before they came. For the next 2 days, I stayed near the apartment. I know how that sounds. I know it sounds like the start of a police report, where everyone later says there were signs. There were signs. I was one of them. I slept behind the laundromat until the owner chased me away. I bought food from a gas station with the cash Keller had given me. I watched my family from across the street. A man came and went from the apartment. The first time I saw him, I thought I was hallucinating again. He walked up the stairs carrying grocery bags. He had my old blue jacket. He had my limp, or something close to it. Caleb ran out when the door opened and wrapped himself around the man's leg. The man laughed. My laugh. Aaron kissed him. Maddie took one of the grocery bags from him and said something that made him smile. He turned slightly, and I saw his face. The man from the license photo. The almost me. My family let him in and shut the door. I crossed the street without deciding to. By the time I reached the stairs, my hands were shaking so badly I had to grip the railing. I stood outside the door and listened. Inside, the man said, "What's for dinner?" Aaron said, "Whatever you're cooking." The kids laughed. I bit my fist until I tasted blood. That night, I called the temporary phone number Keller had given me. No one answered. I called again and again. At some point, the number stopped connecting. The next morning, I went back to the research building. The 4th floor was empty. Not closed for the day. Empty. The reception desk gone. the gray carpet torn up in strips, plastic sheeting over the office doors. A construction worker told me the previous tenant had moved out. I asked where. He shrugged. I asked when. He said, "Couple weeks ago, I think." I found Dr. Keller's office. The door was unlocked. Inside, there was nothing but dust and a single chair with no back. I checked the walls for hidden panels. I checked the floor. I screamed until the construction worker threatened to call security. On the bus back, my own voice spoke from the seat behind me. "You are making this harder." I turned. An old woman sat there with a shopping bag in her lap. She looked startled. "Did you say something?" I asked. She shook her head and moved to another seat. After that, the voice followed me everywhere. Not constantly. That would have been easier in a way. It came when I was tired, when I closed my eyes, when water ran, when traffic passed too close. Sometimes it sounded like the intercom, sometimes like the whisper behind the door, sometimes like the dead thing in the bed. It said my family had chosen. It said I had been replaced because I was replaceable. It said the man in my home was not a man, but a corrected version. It said Aaron knew. I tried not to listen. I walked. I prayed once in a church, even though I had not prayed since childhood. I sat in a library and searched my name on public computers. There were pictures of Daniel Price online. Family photos Aaron had posted years ago. In some, the face looked like mine. In others, it looked like his. The longer I stared, the less I could tell which was true. I found one photo from Maddie's birthday the year before. Aaron stood behind the cake. Caleb had frosting on his mouth. The man beside them had his arm around Aaron. I zoomed in until the image blurred. Was it me? Was it him? My memory said it was me. The photo said maybe not. That was when I stopped trusting memory. Once that goes, nothing holds. On the third evening after I left the facility, I bought a kitchen knife from a discount store. I could say I bought it for protection. I could say I was afraid of the other Daniel. Both were partly true. But another part of me had already gone quiet and practical. That part compared blade lengths. That part paid cash. That part took the knife behind the laundromat and removed it from the packaging. My hands were calm then. I wish they had shaken. I wish someone had noticed. I wish the cashier had looked at my face and decided not to sell it to me. But the world is not built to stop things at the moment they can still be stopped. It waits until after. I returned to the apartment after dark. The building smelled like fried food and laundry detergent. A neighbor's television played too loud. I climbed the stairs slowly and stood outside the door. Inside, Aaron was getting the kids ready for bed. I heard Caleb complain about brushing his teeth. I heard Maddie tell him he was being gross. I heard Aaron say, "Both of you, enough." Then I heard him, the other Daniel. He said, "Listen to your mother." My voice from another mouth. Something in me folded over on itself. I knocked. The apartment went quiet. Footsteps approached. He opened the door. For a second, we just looked at each other. He was not exact. Up close, the differences were obvious. His nose had been broken once and mine had not. His left eyebrow had a thin scar. His beard was trimmed the way I used to keep mine before everything went bad. He looked healthier. He looked rested. He looked annoyed, like I had interrupted his evening. Then he recognized me. I saw it. His eyes widened, not with confusion, but with fear. He tried to shut the door. I drove my shoulder into it. Pain flashed down my arm, but the door flew open and knocked him backward. Erin screamed from the hall. The kids screamed because she did. The other Daniel came at me. He was stronger than I expected. We hit the wall together. A picture frame fell and shattered. He grabbed my wrist with both hands and tried to turn the knife away. He shouted my name, not his name, mine. Daniel. Stop. That made it worse. I punched him in the throat. He gagged and loosened his grip. I stabbed him in the side. The sound he made was small and shocked. Not like in movies, more like he had been surprised by cold water. Erin ran toward the phone on the kitchen counter. I pulled away from him and caught her before she reached it. She fought hard. I want that known. Erin fought with everything she had. She hit me, scratched my face, kicked my bad shoulder. She screamed for the kids to run. She screamed my name too, but not like she knew me, like someone repeating what she had just heard. I told her I was sorry. I do not know if that matters. It should not. The rest broke into pieces. A lamp on the floor. Caleb crying in the hallway. Maddie trying to open the bedroom window, though we were on the second floor and the screen stuck. The other Daniel crawling across the carpet, leaving a dark trail behind him. Erin on the kitchen floor, eyes open, one hand still reaching toward the phone. I did not feel rage anymore. That is the part that should scare you. Rage would at least make sense. I felt like I was finishing a task someone had given me through a speaker. The voice was there, calm and close. Please finish the study. I moved through my home, and my home did not know me. By the time the neighbor kicked the door open, I was sitting at the kitchen table. The knife lay in front of me. My hands were red. My shirt was red. The apartment was full of a silence so complete it felt like the windowless room again. The neighbor saw Erin first. Then he saw me. Then he looked past me down the hall and made a sound I still hear when I sleep. I did not run. The police arrived quickly. Maybe they had already been called during the screaming. They shouted commands. I put my hands where they told me. One officer threw me to the floor and put a knee in my back. My cheek pressed against the linoleum. It smelled like bleach and old crumbs. As they cuffed me, I saw the other Daniel lying near the couch. His eyes were open. He was smiling. Not much. Just enough. I started screaming then. I screamed that he was not dead. I screamed that he was the one from the room. I screamed that Keller had switched us. I screamed until someone put a cloth over my face, and the world went dark. Now I am in a hospital that is also a jail, or a jail that pretends to be a hospital. The doctors ask me to tell the story. Lawyers tell me not to. Reporters call me a stranger who murdered a family. Sometimes they call me Daniel Price. Sometimes they say the real Daniel Price was among the victims. They showed me the records. According to the records, I entered the sleep study under a false identity. According to the records, the man I killed was Daniel Price, husband to Erin, father to Maddie and Caleb, HVAC technician. Shoulder injury, financial trouble, no criminal history. According to the records, I am unidentified. My fingerprints match no one now. My dental records match no one. My blood type is wrong. Erin's parents came to one hearing. Her mother looked at me with such hatred that I wanted to disappear. Her father held a photograph of the four of them: Erin, Maddie, Caleb, and the other Daniel. The real one, they said. I asked to see it. My lawyer told me to be quiet. I asked anyway. The judge ordered me removed. I still do not know whether I was the man in that apartment or the thing that came out of the second room. Some days I remember Maddie being born. I remember Erin crushing my hand and laughing afterward because I looked more scared than she did. I remember Caleb sleeping on my chest during a thunderstorm. I remember fixing the kitchen sink with a borrowed wrench. I remember the first apartment, the blue couch, the way Erin danced when she cooked if she thought no one was watching. Other days, those memories feel like recordings played through a wall. The doctors say I built a life in my head from details I learned while stalking the family. They say the sleep study is part of the delusion. They say there is no Dr. Keller, no Paula, no room, no experiment. They found no record of long-term environmental sleep isolation. The building lease belonged to a shell company that dissolved before anyone could question them. The fourth-floor construction crew disappeared from their own paperwork. No cameras, no logs, no consent forms, nothing. Except one thing. Last week, during group therapy, an orderly brought in lunch trays. Mine had a sealed cup of coffee. The lid had a bite mark on the rim. I asked the orderly who prepared it. He said the kitchen. I asked if anyone else had touched it. He told me to eat. That night, after lights out, the speaker in my room clicked on. There is no intercom in my room. I have checked. I have asked. The nurses say the announcement system only works in the hall. But the click came from above my bed. Then my voice said, "Good morning, Daniel." I did not answer. It waited. "Please confirm you understand the instructions." I kept my mouth shut. The room stayed dark. The hall outside was quiet. Somewhere far away, a man coughed. The voice sighed. It sounded tired of me. "You always make people ask twice," it said. "I am writing this because the doctors tell me it helps to put things in order. They think order means sanity. They think a story becomes less dangerous when it has a beginning and an end. But this does not have an end. It has rooms. It has doors. It has men who look almost like you sleeping in beds you have not found yet. And sooner or later, one of them wakes up hungry enough to come home.